let's head into the papers now, see what the headlines are across papers in Nigeria. I have with me in the studio leadership and communication strategist, Dr. John, as well as chartered accountant and public affairs analyst, Sheson Okwande. It's nice to see you both in the studio.
Good morning.
Happy Friday.
Yeah,
thank God.
All right, Sheson, it was your birthday recently, and I understand that you had a very big cake.
Well, I don't understand that, Mike. We just have to celebrate and thank God, at least for another life.
All right, we wish
Thank
you well.
very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Let's start from the Nation newspaper now. Buhari to tribunal. Atiku's petition most worthless. He is not qualified to contest. PDP candidate insists. All right, it's still a back and forth on this issue, but meanwhile, the issue is at the courts and waiting for a final on that. From the Nation, let's go to the blueprint now. Minimum wage. Workers running out of patience. NLC saying this and wants federal government to come clean on implementation. Okay, there's still the argument on the consequential adjustments as to what those beyond level beyond level 7, what percentage will they have as an increment to their salaries? That's part of why we have the back and forth, and the negotiations are still ongoing and the debate is on. From Blueprint, let's go to the News Direct. News Direct says Oga bows out, has Masters Energy Group repositions for excellence. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of the News Direct. Daily Trust is where we go next now. Daily Trust says alleged 3 billion naira fraud, apprehension in civil service over Onyoeta's investigation. Okay, that is still ongoing as well. Wait to see the outcome of that. This Day is where we go next. This Day says that to avoid legal ambush in India, federal government returns El-Zakzaky to Nigeria, arrives today. And IMN says cleric coming back for personal safety. Okay, that's the controversial issue around the leader of the IMN. They are on their way and should arrive later today in Nigeria from the reports we are getting. Okay, let's move now to The Guardian. Confusion over Buhari's stance on food imports, CBN's autonomy, and the Nation short on rice, sugar, maize, wheat, others, say experts. The policy anti-people, ill-timed, and PDP declares. All right, manufacturers, OPS as organized private sector urge caution, want codes for items. Why presidency might be compromising Apex Bank. Okay, these are all implications to, according to experts, these are all implications to the directive by the president. Okay, let's move from there to the Vanguard. The Vanguard will be our last paper this morning. Taraba police killings, over 25 military police personnel arrested on the Taraba police killings, held for allegedly working with kidnapped kingpin Wadume, as that's the kingpin called, the alleged kingpin called Wadume, as panel sits today in Taraba to grill police military representatives. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of the Vanguard. Okay, gentlemen, I would like us to, I think only one paper talked about El-Zakzaky today. This Day, to avoid legal ambush in India, federal government returned El-Zakzaky to Nigeria. Did it come to you both as a surprise that after, just few days, 1-2 days of arriving in India, there were controversies here and there over the treatment or the, the diagnosing and the treatment of El-Zakzaky? And in less than a week, he has to return to Nigeria, and he's rightly on their way right now. Doctor, let me start with you on this.
Yes, it is extremely surprising that the man who had always wanted to travel for health reasons is actually raising an alarm that, at this point in time, he's not safe. I don't know the details as to who chose India in the first place. I wouldn't want to, I don't know.
It was the IMN. It was the IMN who chose. The hospital was their choice. Okay. From the reports we got, they chose the hospital.
If that had happened, then I'm more surprised, because in actual sense, you cannot expect the federal government at this point in time to dance to your tune, and I'm being honest there. If if you do not, if at any point in time you had said that you do not recognize the sovereignty of your nation, that's Nigeria, I doubt whether you now expect them to organize a tea party for you when you go on medical trips such as that. But again, thank God that maybe when it comes back, I am hopeful that at least perhaps this is going to mark an end to the crisis and the tug of war between the IMN and the federal government of Nigeria.
All right, Sheson, what do you foresee here? Because the point there is, we're still going. Are we going back to the days where there's still going to be complaints of, okay, release our leader for treatment, his health is deteriorating and all of that? Because he, from the report, he decided, if I don't have the access to the doctors that I chose, then there's no point staying here. And I have to go, but he discharged himself and he's on his way back.
I want to believe that this noise for release our leaders will definitely go down. The federal government is so magnanimous in their dealings by releasing him at this point in time. Not just that alone, the judge consented to all their requests. They made request of the hospital to go, the people to take care of him. Nothing was influenced by the federal government. All they did was, as you're going, we are going with our security operatives that will be there to protect you. And that's exactly what they did. And I'm sure with this, they have pleased them. Anything beyond this, he requested that, please take me back to the country. I think it's better for me to be in Nigeria because I'm not getting the medical treatment expected of me traveling to India. So I want to believe that the federal government has actually washed their hands clean. Coming back to Nigeria, he should be able to face the issue ahead of him, and that will settle it down.
All right, Doctor, India has been the destination that most Nigerians who have the wherewithal go to. In fact, it's a balance between affordability on one hand and effectiveness on the other hand. If you compare it to going to the United States or going to UK or going to Germany and all of that, India is the balancing act, so to say. This is the first known case that someone will go to India and say, I'm not able to access the kind of medical attention I need, so take me back to Nigeria. One would have thought, okay, if I don't get this treatment the way I want in this hospital, there should be another hospital within India that, okay, there should be a referral or something. If really medical check or medical issue is at the center point of this.
You see, in Nigeria, any issue that has been deeply politicized hardly brings out effectiveness. And this is what we are seeing here. You discover that this issue has been heavily politicized from the beginning. So and it's a product of someone not meeting expectation. Perhaps the IMN leader has a particular expectation. If I get here, this is the kind of hotel room I will sleep, and blah, 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 blah. And maybe the federal government is thinking, no, you are still under custody. Either we like it or not. We only release you for medical attention. We are not going to give you the luxury that comes with freedom. Yes, the luxury that comes with freedom. We are not going to give you that. You understand? So when such expectation is not met, then the other person may actually be disappointed. So it's not a question of whether the medical facilities are not there. It's not a question of whether the medical doctors are not there. It's a question of expectation and serious politicking that you and I may not be exposed to.
All right, but just the point there is, if we take it from that window, the point there is, if someone is sick and there are fears one way or the other that things can go bad and really everyone knows is sick, and you have to be released, does it really matter which doctor should treat you or not, if really medical attention is the core of this issue?
If I have to go that way, all of us one time or the other has fallen sick. When it is the issue of life, you don't care which doctor. Who are you to even dictate? You are struggling with your life. And at that point in time, it's the people around you. In fact, because they've taken you to that hospital, you make the recommendation. Those guys are prepared. They have their best ends. The person you thought has the expertise on your own investigation may not be the best hand for the hospital, but the hospital wants to save their name. And that is what exactly is happening. But it's quite surprising that somebody is requesting for a particular doctor a medical practitioner to treat it.
A report from the hospital says the point there is you have decided to come to our hospital and
We
we will
take-
treat you.
yeah.
You cannot dictate to us which doctor must
It's
be the
against
one.
the ethics.
You see, once mistrust sets in, all these things may likely change. It's like having a driver who has been driving you, you don't care, or you trust your driver. But the moment you receive a call from somebody that this guy has a plan to kill you, then mistrust will set in. You will now begin to suspect the driver. This is exactly what happens when politicking. And this politicking we are talking about may not be totally negative.
But what would be-
there's
what would-
involvement of international community. There's involvement of another country now. There's communication, of course, between the Nigerian government. I'm not going to send my security operative to another country without
Yeah,
communication.
without, yeah.
There's involvement. So it's not just a question of whether I am sick, I am going for medical attention. It's deeper than that. And there's mistrust totally between them and the federal government.
From the reports we have gotten from the government is saying, in fact, it was one of the headlines a few days ago that this, from what they have seen so far, this is not even about medical check in the first place. From what the IMN leader was the way he was acting.
Yeah, yes. From what we've seen now, it's like there is a game plan behind this that we are all not seeing. Because if it is a medical whatever, you should subject yourself to medical checkup and treatment. But it's beyond that now, and it seems like Dr. said, if all that you are actually expected, I'm sure he was expecting a 5-star hotel with a cook, everything. For Christ's sake, you are going for medical checkup. And all you should do is, from the airport straight, we want to save your life so that you can face the court injunction here. So we want to save your life from the airport, straight to the hospital, take care of you, and return back. And there shouldn't be any issue of you looking for an hotel, looking for anything. Yeah. So here, I want to give it to our security personnel. If we need to work, they work. Here they've given a good marking, a close marking, good collaboration between them and the Indian government to say he has come purely for medical things. Let it just be, give him the medical whatever, and return him back to the country.
All right. Okay, well, we expect them later on in the day, all things being equal. So
I hope they will not take Ashwebi to welcome.
But let's wait to see how things play out from there. Thank you very much, Sheson Kwade, for coming on the program.
Thank you
Dr.
very
John,
much.
thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
But then let's check out what the papers are saying at this point now. And to review the lead stories in the papers this morning, I have in the studio Leadership and Communications Strategist Dr. John, as well as Chartered Accountant and Public Affairs Analyst Sheson Okwade. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are you doing this Friday morning?
Fine. Happy
Looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah,
I see you're all colorfully dressed.
Yeah.
He celebrated his birthday recently, so he's
Happy
still
birthday.
in the mood.
Happy birthday.
Thank you
still
very
owe
much.
me, or you owe us.
No problem.
All right,
We'll settle
all
that.
right, all right. Long life and prosperity.
Thank you.
Let's head straight in now. For the nation, the big story is President Buhari is addressing the tribunal, talking about the election petition tribunal for the presidential election, saying his rival's petition is most worthless. But PDP candidate insists he is not qualified to contest. So the battle rages. We'll see how the pendulum swings when the tribunal delivers judgment. Blueprint is next. Minimum wage, workers running out of patience, NLC says, and wants FG to come clean on implementation. That's the blueprint, still a raging issue in the country at the moment. What's News Direct saying now? Oga bows out as Masters Energy Group repositions for excellence. Okay, that's News Direct. Daily Trust is leading with the alleged 3 billion naira fraud controversy, saying apprehension in civil service over the head of the civil service, Oyoita's investigation. That's also huge. This day is next, towing the line of the El-Zakzaky controversy. The lead story reads, to avoid legal ambush in India, FG returns El-Zakzaky to Nigeria. Arrives today, IMN says cleric coming back for personnel safety. To Guardian now, confusion over Buhari's stance on food imports and CBN's autonomy. Nation short on rice, sugar, maize, wheat, and others, say experts. Policy anti-people and ill-timed, that's from the PDP. Manufacturers OPS urge caution, wants codes for items, and finally, why presidency might be compromising Apex Bank. That's many more reactions now following that presidential directive. The final paper to check out is the Vanguard. It's continuing with reports on the Taraba police killings updates. Over 25 military police personnel arrested, held for allegedly working with kidnap kingpin Wadume. Panel sits today in Taraba to grill police and military representatives. All right, gentlemen, let's look at the minimum wage story. The deadline passed days ago. Dotto, what's your take now? The bill was signed since April, and this is August. We still haven't, gotten a full implementation of the minimum wage of 30,000 naira.
Yeah, I think Nigeria and the Nigerian people, we are more concerned about new laws than new logic. And we always want a new thing, even when we do not have the capacity to actually make them work. Fine, it's a legal thing. The review of minimum wage is not something that any government should praise itself for or should cause commotion over. Right. But if anything is legal, you know that after 4 years that you are going to change tenure. You know that after every 5 years, you are going to review minimum wage. It is also the duty of labor to have spelled out the statistics as to what increase. So when you are making a demand, you are not just making a demand that you want the least paid worker in Nigeria to earn so amount of money. You are also going into details as to how much a level 8 officer will earn in the Federal Civil Service, how much a level 12 person will earn to level 16, to even a permanent secretary. As we still speak now, nobody is talking about the gap between the salary of a level 16 officer and that of the permanent secretary. These are some of the issues. So it shows that from the beginning, we are only concerned about how much the least paid worker earns in Nigeria than the entire comprehensive wage request that we are making as a body. And
that is also the body language of the NLC, with the president of the NLC saying minimum wage, we will ensure no worker is cheated. It's trying to, get an even increment and implementation for everyone, regardless of your structure. But then there are concerns about the implication of this generality on the wage bill, as the federal government puts it. So how do we get out of this impasse?
In as much as we want minimum wage, I think the foundation of it to me is wrong. You don't just pick minimum wage without having an holistic view of what you want to achieve. Somebody is talking that a level 6 or level something should earn this amount. You should have put into your plan, what will the highest paid person, what is the implication? Will they be able to? Because it's not possible for you to increase the salary of a cleaner and you are leaving the GM that will not have anything to take home with, except you have created that gap before, which you want to close. As we speak, every civil servant complains. If you go and approach a level 10 person, he's telling you that his take home compared to what the private sectors are taking, it's very far. If you want to see a level 12, you say, well, I'm just working for the government. And that's why when you talk about corruption in public service, they will tell you that that is the only way they can cover up what they cannot get from other people. So here that NLC is telling us that the civil servants are getting impatient or people are getting impatient, these are things they should have put together. Absolutely. Not only on the minimum wage, but you should be able to cap. Like what Dr. said, we are looking at the gap between level 16 and a PS. It's wild. It's huge. It's wild. So we need to close up that and let everybody have sense of belonging. With that, we should be able to define it. But what we have been clamoring for on this minimum wage is the least paid person. We are not concerned about the highest paid. And that is why so many people will tell you that they can't afford to pay this.
They cannot afford to pay it. So what options are left for the NLC now? They say the options, they're running out of patience. What options? What do you think would be the best language right now? Would it be the familiar industrial action?
It is from the ancient time of King Pharaoh, I think it's 4 or 5 in Egypt, to this present moment. Labor has had only one language that people in authority understand, and that's the language of strike. What else do you want them to do? You want them to sit on the round table that they've done over time? They will not do that again.
Some have even said this current NLC, do we see them favoring the industrial action option?
Of course, that's going to be where they will punch to. You know, in leadership, especially organizational leadership, and it's quite unfortunate that in Nigeria we have painted the picture that government job is nobody's business, and the only thing that is permitted to work is the private sector. It's a lie. In government, there's this principle of gain sharing that is not available in government. If, for example, my organization makes profit, at the end of the day, I am looking forward to getting something.
Sharing, yeah.
So even if my salary at that point in time is 12,000, I know the prosperity of my organization means my own prosperity. So I will still want to put in extra effort. But in government, nobody does that. Even the Christmas bonus, they call it, yes, it's Christmas bonus, that most of them pay, it is at the discretion of the governor. A governor will come to them and say, I'm not paying this allowance. The another one will come and say they are not paying. To collect leave bonuses in government service, you need to embark on 7 days fasting and prayer. In some cases, is it a man who has not paid your salary that will remember that you are going on Christmas break or you are going on leave that will give you bonus?
You've also even opened up another level of discussion now. We're still talking about the federal meetings now, trying to get a consensus at the federal level. When are we even going to get implementation? The state governments
they are still there.
I know they are monitoring the situation, perhaps buying time and all this, because, they've always had a stand about this increment in the first place. So where are we going to exactly? Sincerely
speaking, on this minimum wage, I myself am confused. In the sense that if the federal government agreed to this today, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 states can go along with them. The rest state government cannot afford it.
No. They can afford it. They will not. They will tell the lies that they cannot afford it.
So they can.
They can.
Majority of them, because if you look at what they put in place with other things that they expend on, frivolity. A governor wants to travel and you have so many entourage that is following you. If you invest that on the personnel that are working for you to make things well, and to go in line with what Dr. said, every private sector, the staffs there wants to give in their best because they know that at the end of every cycle, whatever margin anybody makes, they are going to have a fair share of it. Even if it is 5,000 that you are giving a cleaner, he knows that, okay, for my input for this year, this is what I'm getting. But when you work for a whole year and they are about to pay even the Christmas bonus, there is nothing for you to even take home when you've not collected your salary. You are talking of having Christmas bonus or 13th month. So these are things that they must put together holistically. And let's have a sense of direction. 30,000 that we are talking about is not even up to what we should be talking of as minimum wage. Absolutely. But let them put it together and let these people enjoy their money.
A man who works, let's say a man who lives where I live in Ikorodu and works at Alausa, perhaps we spend about 7,000 naira for transportation.
Every week.
Every week.
So in a month you're talking of 30,000.
And he has 4 kids, so
these are genuine worries now that you both have expressed. We understand that another meeting between both sides will happen next week. So we'll wait and see if consensus or if some considerations will be given. Gentlemen, Sheson Okwade and Dr. John, thank you both for your contributions, and I wish you both a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
We are watching TVC Breakfast.
Let's see what the headlines are across papers in Nigeria this morning. And I have with me leadership and communication strategist Dr. John, as well as chartered accountant and public affairs analyst Sheson Okwade. Gentlemen, it's nice to see you both.
It's a pleasure.
On a wonderful Friday.
Yeah, thank God it's Friday.
Okay, let's begin with the Nation newspaper now. Buhari to tribunal, Atiku's petition most worthless. He's not qualified to contest, PDP candidate insists. You will see that on the front page of the Nation newspaper. All right, let's go to the blueprint now. The blueprint says workers running out of patience. NLC is drawing attention now regarding the minimum wage and wants government to come clean on implementation. The back and forth is still on when it comes to what the consequential adjustment should be between all the different levels of civil service and so on. All right, News Direct is where we go next now. Oga bows out as Masters Energy Group repositions for excellence. That is what you see on the front page of the News Direct. Daily Trust is our next stop now. Alleged 3 billion naira fraud. Apprehension in civil service over Oyoita's investigation. Yeah, you see that on the front page of the Daily Trust. Let's go now to this day. This day says, to avoid legal ambush in India, federal government returns El-Zakzaky to Nigeria and meant to arrive today. IMN says, cleric coming back for personal safety. Okay, we'll be talking about this on the show shortly. Now, the Guardian is where we go next. Confusion over Buhari's stance on food imports, CBN's autonomy. And there has some multiple writers there to explain further, saying a nation short on rice, sugar, maize, wheat, others, say experts. And policy is anti-people, ill-timed, PDP declares on that. And manufacturers, organized private sector urge caution, want codes for items. And why presidency might be compromising Apex Bank, because a lot of people have said that that directive undermines the autonomy of the Central Bank of Nigeria that is meant to actually take those decisions. Okay, Vanguard is where we go next now. Vanguard says Taraba police killings, over 25 military police personnel arrested, held for allegedly working with kidnapped kingpin Wadume. And as panel sits today in Taraba to grill police and military representatives. Okay, this issue has been on, and I guess they're getting into the details of what has been happening in that area. You will also recall sometime General T.Y. Danjuma saying that there's a collusion between security agencies and criminal elements in that area. I guess all this will unravel, whether to confirm or otherwise, of all of those claims. Let's get into this issue that has been controversial for some time now. The past few weeks or the past few months has seen controversy around El-Zakzaky, the leader of the IMN, and he is on his way right now from the reports we got from India back to Nigeria, and a lot of questions are being asked. Now, let me say, I'm going to start with you, Sheson. If El-Zakzaky traveled to India, eventually didn't get the kind of treatment he wanted, his wife is also sick. Now, questions are a responsible or a right-thinking man or someone who feels love for the wife will say, okay, I can get the treatment I want, but you can treat my wife while I go back home. We didn't see this happening. He decided to stop his own treatment and stop the treatment of his wife too.
Yeah, I believe he knows the wife better than I do, and any one of us.
Of course.
So if he feels the wife is seriously ill and is not self-centered, you should have acted the way you're saying. But he said he's not getting the best that he desire from the Indian hospital they actually recommended. The people that did the research for him, I don't know. But one beautiful thing is that the court they were able to yield to his request. This is not a request of a third party saying this is where we want to take you to. It was where he requested to be treated that was flowing to both himself and the wife. And at this point, I think he has given kudos to the Nigeria medical team that he preferred to be treated here in Nigeria than in India. So people that travels out of the country, because part of what we've been saying is if you go to any part of this world, you see Nigerians excelling, even in the medical part. The only thing we keep saying we lack, which I believe the government are actually working on, is infrastructure. So if he was fleeing to India and he prefers to be treated back in Nigeria, is to tell us that things are gradually working and we can give kudos to it. So we'll be patiently waiting to receive him so that he can get the best of the treatment in our own country, then we can face the legal issue.
In a report yesterday, he was quoted as saying that the Kirikiri prison has a better medical. He said what he had in India was worse than Kirikiri prison. I wonder if he's coming back to Kirikiri prison now.
I just pray that everyone that has been unjustly traveling abroad for medical tourism we have that kind of experience, so that at least we'll come back home and make our health sector work. But on a serious note, I think the duty of government is actually to unite the entire citizenry. It doesn't matter where you belong as a person. It's also the duty of every citizen to be responsible, no matter where you belong. At a point, I gave myself kudos for having an opportunity to execute an election for about, preparing for an election for about 1 year or thereabout. And I never had any opportunity to insult anybody that belonged to the other divide, because I know that it's my responsibility as a citizen to also ensure that there's peace in my community, in my country. If we do not have Nigeria to return to, nobody will return. It shows that the first thing that should be on our mind as a people is to ensure that we contribute to the peace of the nation, either through our religious practice or our ethnic engagement or political endeavors, whatever we do. So as we are appealing to the government to ensure that the government unite the people the more, we should not say because this one does not belong to my group that I'm going to treat him anyhow, which is what has played out anyway, that the government has shown, I don't want to use, I'm being careful, because it's also the duty of government to obey court ruling.
Order,
so I want to appreciate government for doing that, though it's their duty. But again, as a citizen, every one of us, no matter where we belong, we must ensure that there's peace in this country, because if there's no peace, nobody, no matter how bad the Indian people treat you, you will not want to return home.
All right, Sheson, if we have to create scenarios going forward now that he is back without being treated, what will be the justification now if he starts his trial and there are still complaints of the fact that I have to go on for any other medical treatment?
Though, in all fairness to him, I'm sure he won't want to raise that. Okay. You've been given an opportunity to, you make a request, and the request was granted. And now he himself said he prefers to be treated back in Nigeria because the facility here is far better than those people. So I don't think they're playing in this game if he starts his trial. I think, like what Dotun said, you know, for everyone in life, there's a time where you reprocess things. And I think it's high time they believe that peace must reign. Let me go back and see how we can, as if the government on the part are seeking for peace, you as an individual should look for a way to get peace so that we can synergize things and move the country forward. Today, innocent people are dying. Look at when they had to go out for protest, the number of people that died. Do you know we kill people that can make better things in this country untimely? Look at the young journalists that died in the other sister station. So you discover that we must work together, because you can't predict what will happen when we start with violence. Yeah, what we should predict, what we should preach to people now is to unite ourselves, preach peace, let peace, and whether you're on the other party politically, you know, even other, preach peace. And I want to believe that it's coming back. We entrench peace and we'll move forward.
And I doubt whether there had been any time where he was actually given an opportunity to be treated in Nigeria. I doubt that. I'm not sure there had been any time that he requested to be treated in Nigeria. Now he had made a request that he preferred Nigeria. So first, I think the federal government should give him the opportunity to assess medical help in Nigeria, not just because he said he wants to return and we now slam him back to court. No, let's also be human on our own side. This man has said, oh, I do not trust these people. I want to return home. Let's also give him an opportunity to be treated in Nigeria. Then from there we can move on with his case. All right.
Yeah. Well, we wait to see how these things will play out as he returns later today or sometime today. Thank you very much, Dr. John, for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Sheson, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.